These are 5 small mice, they're all about the same width, the same length, the same height. The weights differ a little bit, but they're all about the same. From left to right, this is a Rapoo V300. It's got extremely comfortable grooves in the buttons, and it's got an extra button on the side here. The Razer Abyssus 2014 is a no-frills mouse. The Logitech G303 has the best sensor that you'll find in any mouse. The Roccat Kiro has removable sides, so you can choose which side you have the buttons on. And the SteelSeries Razer 100 is similar, but you can't remove the sides. 3 of these mice are RGB, G303, Kiro, and Razer 100. They all have side buttons except the Abyssus. However, you can make the Roccat Kiro have no buttons as well. Each of these has some kind of issue. There's no such thing as a perfect mouse. So what I'm going to try to do in this video is explain the good and bad points of each mouse and a lot of their features so you can decide which one is going to be right for you. First, let's test out the buttons. Overall, the V300 has really nice buttons. They're some of the most comfortable as far as I'm concerned. The wheel doesn't have a lot of tactile feedback, but there is enough there while remaining quiet. Next is the Abyssus. As a no-frills mouse, these are very standard and what you would expect. On the G303, these are top-rated buttons because they are very quick, although I did some click testing and they were about the same. However, just the tactile feel on these is pretty up there. Same goes for the mouse wheel. While I don't like large scrolls, a lot of people do, and you have a lot of tactile feedback on this. On the Roccat Kiro, you can see that the buttons are just bits of plastic on the side there. Once they're in, while they're loud and clicky, they do feel pretty good. The left and right click, very responsive, really good tactile feedback, very crisp. My copy does have a loud scroll wheel, but it's okay going down. Tactile feedback wise, there's a little there, but not to the level of the G303. Razer 100. These buttons are quite loud, and I must say the left and right click feel a bit spongy compared to the other ones. As for grip styles, I feel I can palm the V300. I think it also works for claw, and also fingertip grip. The same is true for the Abyssus, it seems to work with all grip styles. G303, this is comfortable in claw grip. It's a bit low, it doesn't have a very large curve at the back here, so it would be harder to palm grip than the other mice. The Roccat Kiro does seem to fit all types of grips. It's a very, very safe shape. And the Razer 100, I think it feels comfortable in claw and fingertip, but strangely because of the curvature of the shape, it differs just enough from the Roccat Kiro to not feel as comfortable in palm grip. Now for weights. These aren't going to be the exact weights because there is some cable involved here. But with this test, the Abyssus is 82 grams. The G303 is 92. The Razer 100 is 91. The V300 is 99. And the Roccat Kiro is 101. So these two mice are the heaviest. But what is actually heaviest and what feels heaviest are two different things. You see, when we pick them up, our fingers are generally in the middle area, and that means that's where we're carrying the weight. If we put all the weight in the middle, it would be right where our fingers are, so we'd be using all our strength for that. But this is the power of leverage. If you put all the weight in the back, it's then being dragged from behind. The Roccat Kiro is a good example of this because it feels heavier than it should be. Even though it's about the same weight as the V300, it actually feels a lot heavier. So the weight distribution in the V300 is a lot better than the Roccat Kiro. So in terms of weight distribution, all of them feel pretty well balanced, except the Kiro. But some people do prefer a heavier mouse, and that's why the Kiro may suit a lot of people still. By the way, if you are finding this video helpful, please hit the thumbs up for me because it does help the video come up in search results better. Now for lift-off distance, the Razer 100 can still track when there's one DVD underneath it, so that's about 1.2 millimeters. But it can't track 2, so I'm guessing it's between 1.2 and maybe 1.6. It's a pretty low lift-off distance. The Roccat Kiro is the only one that you can adjust in the software. You can go low, which doesn't even track on a DVD, medium, which can track on one DVD, or high, which can track on two. The Rapoo V300 has a really high lift-off distance. You can put 3 DVDs under here, and it'll still track. The Logitech G303 can track at 1 DVD underneath it, but not 2. The Abyssus uses the Razer Synapse software, and there isn't too much customization available in here. So you can configure sensitivity stages, although that doesn't come into use much without a DPI button on the mouse, but it does allow you to set your DPI between 100 and 3500 in increments of 100. You can add acceleration and alter the polling rate. In lighting, you can either have off or on, and this is showing just how much of a no-frills mouse this is. In the V300 software, you only have 4 DPI settings, as listed here, so you can't have 400, 2000, 2400, it is only these 4. 3 polling rates, and it gives you some LED control. One advantage you do have with the V300 is this option here called Trigger. When you click it, it'll let you select a program. Now every time you run that program, it's going to select the profile that has it as a trigger. So this is profile 1. If I was selecting profile 2 and then I went to Winamp, it would reselect profile 1. That's handy for when you're binding buttons for different software. Now in the Rapoo 100 software. First point of interest is the CPI level. So it starts at 250, goes to 500, skips 750 and goes straight to 1000, 1250, 1500, 1750, 2000, and then jumps all the way to 4000. You have acceleration and deceleration options, but they are off by default, and the polling rate 125 to 1000. In the button configuration, you do have record, so for macros, and you can also change it to a media button or to launch an application. This is an RGB mouse, so you can control the LED. You have steady, breathe, and color shift. Color shift allows you to have gradients, but I still haven't worked out how to add new gradients. It just seems like you have to use the ones that they've added. And you can also disable the lights. In the Logitech software, you can assign a new command for the buttons. Gives you the options of multi-key, text block, mouse function, media, hotkeys, shortcut, function, and ventrilo. This sensor goes from 200 to 12,000 in increments of 50, so you can pretty much use whatever DPI that you want. And you also have surface tuning. On the Roccat Kiro, you use their new software called Swarm. You have a whole range of options. It goes in increments of 50, all the way from 250 to 4000. On the buttons, there is no easy shift like on other products by Roccat, but they do give you a lot of functions like hotkeys, the basic functions, DPI scrolling, internet forward and back, multimedia, and open. This is also an RGB mouse, so you can have no color flow, or you can have it cycling like I do, and it also lets you choose a color. And over here, we see the lift-off distance control. Testing the sensors in Quake, fully zoomed in. This is to check if the sensors can handle slow movements. This is the Abyssus. And yes, it's tracking each and every one. This is the V300. And while the sensor quality doesn't seem as good in this regard, it still tracks all the movements. The G303 handles these moves perfectly. The Roccat Kiro can also handle them, and so does the Razer 100. Now moving on to the rocket jump test, I've had issues with the Razer Abyssus spinning out on me. I don't know if I can get it to do it on this Roccat Taito pad, but on the Razer Goliathus it definitely happens a lot. So you can see here that it performs well on this surface. I've only had it spin out on me once. Still, it's something to be aware of with the Abyssus. It can spin out on various surfaces. The Rapoo V300 has no such issues. I've never had this mouse spin out on me, so it seems to be tracking extremely well. And of course the sensor in the G303 is flawless. Moving on to the Razer 100. I've done a lot of testing with this mouse also, and I haven't been able to make the sensor spin out. And lastly, the Roccat Kiro, same result. So all of these sensors perform quite well in game, for snipering, and also lots of big flicks. Moving on to the line test, where it allows me to test the jitter and a sensor. All of them perform quite well, but the Rapoo V300 does have a very slight jitter to it. So those are the details, and it might be a bit hard to process because there's a lot of information. So I'll try to give it a conclusion, which will be a personal opinion, that I hope you'll be able to apply somehow for what you want. If you're looking at the Razer Abyssus, it's a no-frills mouse that's a very safe shape. Everything works well enough, including the mouse wheel with tactile feedback, and the cable is loose and easy to deal with. Other than its inability to track on the Razer Goliath's speed version, the black edition, it's a very solid mouse. If you're looking at a mouse with an extra button, it just has that solid build with some really nice, very comfortable buttons with the grooves in them, then the Rapoo V300 is the wildcard that you should probably look at. It does have some problems. The sensor isn't perfect, but it's good enough. The cable, while braided, is actually harsh and not very smooth, and as you can see, it holds its shape. So it does cause a little bit of hassle. Still, out of all of these, this is actually my mouse of choice. There is something very special about it, and I love using it. If you want the mouse with the best sensor, the G303 is the one. You have the extra buttons, DPI switch and sides, the tactile feedback on the scroll wheel, really fast clicking buttons, and a really nice braided smooth cable that's no hassle at all. The only real problems with this mouse are the diamond shape and the fact that a lot of them have sensor rattle. I'll be returning mine, hoping the next copy won't have that. If you want a very safe shape with a good feeling mouse and a decent size, the SteelSeries Razer 100 is a good choice. The problems I see with this mouse? Everything seems good but not great, although the mouse feet do sound a bit loud. It actually sounds like the plastic is rubbing on the pad, so I might try to put mouse feet along here sometime and see if that fixes it. Now, if you're a left-handed person or you just don't like the side buttons, your two choices are obviously the Razer Abyssus and the Roccat Kiro. The fact that you can remove these panels and put no buttons on either side or buttons on both sides is very helpful. The only real problem with this mouse is the fact that it's so weighted in the back, but if you like extra weight, this could be a great option for you. So all of these mice are good choices in their own right. As I said, I would probably rather use the Rapoo V300. My second choice would be the Logitech G303. Third would be Roccat Kiro. Fourth would be SteelSeries Razer 100. And fifth, the Razer Abyssus, because I like having side buttons and it had issues tracking on the Razer Goliaths. Otherwise, I'd be happy to use all these mice full time. So they're all about the same price. If you are trying to get a budget mouse and you think you'd like the G303, try the G302. It's still a great mouse. I used it for 9 months and that's down to $34 at the moment. But otherwise, price isn't going to be a big deal with these mice because they're too close together. It's really going to be about what's going to suit you. If you have any comments or questions, just leave them below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you'd like to see more videos like this, then please subscribe because it does help me grow the channel. You'll find Amazon links for all of these mice in the description. I'll leave it below for you. And again, please hit the like button for me. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. These are 5 small mice. They're all about the same width, the same length, the same height. The weights differ a little bit, but they're all about the same. From left to right, this is a Rapoo V300. It's got extremely comfortable grooves in the buttons, and it's got an extra button on the side here. The Razer Abyssus 2014 is a no-frills mouse. The Logitech G303 has the best sensor that you'll find in any mouse. The Roccat Kiro has removable sides, so you can choose which side you have the buttons on. And the SteelSeries Razer 100 is similar, but you can't remove the sides. 3 of these mice are RGB, G303, Kiro, and Razer 100. They all have side buttons except the Abyssus. However, you can make the Roccat Kiro have no buttons as well. Each of these has some kind of issue. There's no such thing as a perfect mouse. So what I'm going to try to do in this video is explain the good and bad points of each mouse and a lot of their features so you can decide which one is going to be right for you. First, let's test out the buttons. Overall, the V300 has really nice buttons. They're some of the most comfortable as far as I'm concerned. The wheel doesn't have a lot of tactile feedback, but there is enough there while remaining quiet.